Working Languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital.
漢検1級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language. Mod för är tröttare än vanligt. Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is squab, and that also means elephant.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, ça, ah c'est ça, que c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyper Polyglotting avec Élise. Moi c'est Élise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Night. Come on. Yen. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Papa's Papa, okay, Papa's is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile.
Sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi, dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or what? And here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, what sounds vaguely like hogun and hok, the hok in hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that means it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, sa son chassé, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach, drum dank dem dicken Dachdecker, dass der dicke Dachdecker dir...
Hello! Hi, Badger. Hello and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I'm Elise, translator, writer, and editor with 20 working languages, and this is the stream where we're going to play some Kanji de GO, and we're going to talk about kanji and language learning and all that sort of stuff. And I thought I might get started with something that might be useful to people who are trying to learn a whole lot of kanji, or who are even thinking about looking at the doing the kanji kente as I am. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about how to use this absolute just legend of a kanji dictionary. This is the official Kanji Kente kanji dictionary, the Kanken Kanji Jiten. It has every single kanji that they work with, that they test people on. Hey, Language Mania, not bad. And so I thought, just to start out, we would look at a video on that and just sort of mix things up a little bit. Given that, I've got to just get my chat widget where I can actually see it when it's full screened. Always on top. And okay, first of all, here's just a video about it by Kikurin, Kanji Emurie. And I'm gonna just drop that link in chat right now. We're gonna look at this, and then I'm gonna just also just walk you through in English as well how to use this absolute, I mean, just legend of a dictionary. Personally, I just like leafing through it because the overwhelming majority of it is, I mean, actually I don't know if that's true, but a lot anyway, on it, practically any page you go to will be Kanken 1級 level 1 kanji. And those, I mean, you find just all these just unusual kanji you've never seen before.
Domo.
And all sorts of information about how they're used and everything and what they mean, which is always interesting because there are some fascinating ones out there. I mean, it's a great book.
漢検1級準1級ダブル受験芸人のきくりんです。はい、今日はですね、ちょっと短めの動画になると思いますけれども、ちょっとですね、私方針転換がありましたので、それを発表したいと思います。本日お送りするのは、改めて漢検漢字辞典と向き合うという動画でございます。はい、どういうことかと言います
Oh,
と、
he's taken the plastic slipcover off. I'm never sure about that. I mean, it certainly makes it easier to hold it in your hand, but I guess, you know, you get less crap on the book itself if you have it. I mean, if you have not actually gotten Japanese books, they're very next level in terms of user friendliness. They come with like slip covers and they have built-in bookmarks and all sorts of stuff. It's great. I mean, Japanese publishers are very thoughtful.
前回の漢検の動画で最近の漢検一見難しすぎて、特に、対義語類義語とか一番厳しい。
I like Kroll's student discovery of classical and medieval Chinese. It has tongue destiny pronunciations, and it's interesting to follow how the meaning shifted. Japanese surprisingly often... That's true, and actually it's interesting when I've noticed in the little time I've spent with Cantonese, is that you'll often find that, again, within the limited scope of what I've seen, that Cantonese and Japanese often coincide more than Cantonese and like Putonghua on the kanji to use for certain things. Like the kanji for drink, in, nomu, is the one that they also use for drink in Cantonese, as opposed to Putonghua, where they use ha. Yes, that is a very handy thing. I hadn't even actually known about that until I was watching videos on studying for this, and guys like, one thing you need is a red translucent sheet of plastic. It's like, why do you need that? And somebody in chat from Japan was like, oh no, you use that because they print the answers in red, and this filters out the red light so you can't see them. And it's like, oh wow, that's next level.
大門さんの5選択書き取りがね、もう何から出てるのかよくわかんないんで、よかったら皆さん教えてくださいってことで、合格者の方とかにコメント書き込んでいただいたところですね、非常にいい意見いただきまして、いろいろありがとうございます。その中でも特に思ったのは、大見出し語を全部ちゃんとやっていれば、少なくとも6割、余震部8割ぐらい取れるはずだよって書き込みがありまして、そうなんだと思って、じゃ
あ、okay, so if you, he said, apparently people are saying to him, he'd asked for thoughts on studying, and apparently the headline, if you use the headline terms in the book, because in the dictionary, because one of the great things about this is you will actually get common words that these kanji are used in, like compounds that they're used in, if there are any. Sometimes there just aren't, because it's just a freestanding thing. And they're saying if you know those, and it will include like yojijukugo, the 4-character compounds, which are fascinating in their own right, and the Kanken people have a dictionary of just 4-character compounds, which rocks. I mean, because there are just so many interesting ones there. And those those also not only give you a definition, but they will tell you the history. It's great stuff. If you're like a kanji obsessive, like I can often be, it's lovely. But so they're saying like 60 to 80% of the jukugo compound section of these tests you can do if you just focus on the terms that are emphasized, highlighted in the dictionary, apparently.
なんで私は最近それで取れなかったのかなって考えてみると、そもそも大見出し語って何だってところからもう一回立ち返ってみたんですね。 大見出し語と言われるやつはですね、いわゆるこの漢検漢字辞典の
Okay, he's gonna show what these look like, which is nice because then I don't have to fight against Chroma Key to show them to you.
中で大きくですね立候されているというか、大きな文字で書かれていて、そこ
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what you can see is the really big things that are in between the brackets. Those are the dictionary entries. And then afterwards, in smaller brackets, you get compounds that are done, that are formed with them. With them as the first character. In smaller print, which I actually find I sometimes need a magnifying glass to look at, you get the ones where it is not the first character, at least a few major ones.
に意味があったりする、それが大見出し語ってやつなんですけど、
In Japanese, you call these 大見出し語.
もともと私が大見出し
見出し is also the word for like a headline.
語って言葉を知ったのは、漢検1級の勉強された漢検1級模擬試験倉庫さんで大見出し語 PDF っていうのがあったんで、それで初めて大見出し語って言葉を知ったんですね。でそこにあった1級のね漢字が入ってる大見出し語が PDF6 ページ分ぐらいかな。
Apparently, there's a PDF of just these words that are highlighted in this way, which is how he even found out that this is a term.
に綺麗にまとめてあって、それを参考に勉強いたしましたら、対義語類義語とかね、語選択書き取りがほとんど
Okay, let's just take a moment to enjoy his shelf. Okay, so we've got all sorts of books for preparation for the kanji kente. You know, we've got Kanken 1級, Kanzen, it's too blurry to read. ガスレーザーが解けなかったクイズ. Okay, quizzes. Mysteries of animals. Looks like a children's like picture book kind of thing. More kanji kente books. We've got various dictionaries here. More kanji kente books. And then we've got like jam, it looks like. And a model H3 launch vehicle and something to do with Transformers, and the one of the best Japanese dictionaries right here by his shoulder. And I just like the combination. That's all.
それでいけたんで、あ、これめちゃくちゃ役に立つな。これで大見出し語ってやつで、解けるようになるんだってね、非常。
漢検1級模擬試験鎌倉さん、いつもありがとうございます。Okay, there's somebody by the name of 漢検1級模擬試験鎌倉, who put together this PDF. Apparently, that's if this is something you ever think about doing, or you just want to learn more about it, I guess that's somebody to pay attention to. Not somebody I've ever heard of before this.
本当に私それ役立ったし、いろんな合格者の方に役立っていたものなんです。今でも役立ってるものなんですが、そっから 4,5 年経った今のレベルで言うと、その PDF だけだと全然賄えない。
Yeah, not a bad idea.
という現状が正直あると思います。で、そも
漢字
そも
通すと
私は大見出し語っていうのはそれ全部書き出してくれてるんだと私勘違いしてたんですね。ところがその漢検1級模擬試験倉庫さんの
I mean, if that is true, that you can get 60 to 80% just from looking at the highlighted terms, 80% is a pass. So, it's funny that I had not seen this video before, but I had sort of shifted over to that sort of an approach myself. Like, what I had started doing was, what I'd started out with is there's a book that is just Kanken 1級, like, I forget the full title of it, but it is a study guide. And at the end, it has the full list of Kanken 1級 kanji in order by radical. And I realized that wasn't actually necessarily a great way to do it, because you're remembering them in order by the radical there, and without a whole lot of like contextual information to really make it stick in your head. Because if everything is something with like hahan, like the classical tooth radical, which is a pain in the ass to write, or with nezumiha, the radical, which is a neat looking kanji. It's sort of a different design, but you're doing it in that order, then you may actually have trouble recalling it outside of that order. So I've started just randomly, since it's really easy to find Kanken 1級 kanji in here. They're like practically on every page because there's so many of them, that I've started just going to random pages and choosing kanji. I mean, one of the other nice things about this is they give the stroke order, at least on some of them. Not on, like on ones where every kanji, where every component is something that they've given the stroke order elsewhere. They don't.
私語っていうのはまあ一部抜粋なんですね。かなりの数抜粋してくれてはいますけれども、全部ではないんですね。で、その漏れてるところが結構出たりもしてるんですよ、最近は。これはうがった見方ですけど、私的にはもしかしたら漢検協会の方がね、その有名ですから、漢検一級模擬試験倉庫さんのその PDF ね。
あ、倉庫、鎌倉じゃなくて倉庫さん。
それ見て入ってないやつ出したりしてんじゃないかななんてちょっと思っちゃったり、うがっちゃそう思ってる時点でダメじゃないですかね。不安になっちゃうんでね。なので全ての大見出し語ね、これに載ってる全ての、特に出そうな、特に一級漢字が入ってる大見出し語を押さえれば実際のところ、6割8割取れるという言葉をいただきましたので、じゃあだったら
One of the various things you have to get used to with math in Japanese is the sort of the units are often different. For example, there is wari. Wari is 10%. So you'll often hear things expressed in terms of wari rather than percento. Percento you hear plenty of times, but if it is like a round number like 10 or 20 or 30, often enough it'll be wari. Like you will also hear that like in terms of like when shops are having discounts, they'll say like 3割引き, 30% off. So like when you calculate in your head in Japanese, you actually kind of have to do it a bit differently, because things are grouped a bit differently. It's something that you have to kind of get used to.
もうこの漢検漢字辞典中心の勉強に立ち返ってみたらどうだろうかと思ったんですね、私。
Okay, this is so funny because I had not seen this video before, and I've done the thing that he's talking about.
したはずなんですよ、ね、ただこれで勉強するのはね、あまりにも膨大で、なんかキリがないなと思ったんで、これも基本的には使ってはいたんですが、それをきれいにまとめてくれてるサイトがね、漢字提出さんとか模擬試験総合さんとかがあったんで、それを使って勉強してたんですけれども、今度範囲が広がったことで、さらにそこの、いろんなね、模擬試験総合さんだったらいろんな PDF とかなんとか PDF、常用語 PDF とかいろいろ出してくれてて、
Okay, so 模擬試験総合has a whole bunch of just PDFs that are useful for studying. I'm gonna have to look this person up. I mean, or like company or whatever it is. I thought it was a username, but now I'm starting to
この
wonder.
量が多すぎるから、その中から抜粋してきれいにまとめてくれているサイトさんの情報やった方が効率がいいと思ってやっていたんですが、今度その範囲がさらにね、5、6年前よりは倍ぐらいになってるイメージあるんで、それのために必要な PDF とかがね、いっぱいになってっちゃったんですね。それによって結局やらなきゃいけないね、私のパソコンに入ってるやるべき PDF がもう20個30個とかあるわけ。そ散らばってて、それを全部開いてやってっていうのは、煩雑になってるんで、正直ね。だったらもう大元となってるこの漢検漢字辞典を中心に、これの大見出し語を中心に出そうなやつに線引いてって書いてっていうね、その勉強をここで全部まとまってるわけだから、これに古事成語も入ってるし、四字熟語も入ってるし。
Yeah. I mean, it really does have everything. Although, if you're trying to study for something other than Kanken 1級, you may find this a bit more difficult as a method, because on any random page, you are more likely to find 1級 than just about anything else. Like, I just opened to this page here. Hopefully you can see that. Let me just make sure. And let me just see, what have we got here? First kanji, Okay, actually funny, the first one I picked up here is Nikyu, then Sankyu, but then we get Ikkyu, Kon, Ikkyu, Kon, Ikkyu, 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 Ikkyu. So, let me see, that's one level 2, one level 3, and then compared as against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 level 1. Hey, River Rune. So, I mean, it is especially useful if you are doing level 1 because you will not have to search for specifically level 1 kanji. Because again, there are just so many of them. It's like 6,000 that you have to know in order to pass this thing.
まあ後ろの方のページにね、熟々の当て字なんかまとまってますから、もうこれを中心に勉強してった方が逆に今の時代は。
Oh well, I mean, he's got jam on his shelves. I was admiring the diversity of materials behind him. Because we've got like a picture book about animals, we've got a bunch of kanji kente study guides, a thing about quizzes in there, some kanji dictionaries and some Japanese dictionaries. And then you've got a model rocket, something to do with the Transformers, and in the top right, or his top left, I guess, jam.
効率いいんじゃないかっていうね、この逆転の発想ですね。はい。そもそもこれをまとめてくれたものが広がりすぎちゃってるんで、じゃあこっちを一回やっちゃった方がいいんじゃないかと。はい。ということで、漢検漢字辞典を中心に勉強することにしました。1級はね。なんかその方が結局効率いいんじゃないかなって気がしてきたんですね。で、それでつけた実力を試すために、漢検サイトさんを使うのがいいと思うんですね。問題集として使うってことね。確認のために使うってこと。で、さらにこの漢検漢字辞典で勉強するのにいいことは、なんていうのかな、こうやってめくってっていろいろ勉強していく中で、
Okay, he's talking about another special benefit of using it.
欲しかった情報以外も目に飛び込んでくるんですよね。はい、綺麗にまとまってる PDF とかだと、そのなんていうのかな、余分な情報入ってこないですよね。綺麗にまとめてくれてるのは嬉しいんだけど、このめくったり探したりしてる過程の中で、あ、こんな熟語知らなかったっていうのがね。
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about, this is the thing I like about it too. It's one of the reasons I enjoy just leafing through an actual like printed dictionary, is you run across stuff that you weren't looking for. Stuff that you maybe didn't even know about and is useful to know. And which is just cool because you find out all sorts of, you know, you're looking for one thing, but you find another interesting thing. I mean, this thing is full of just linguistic rabbit holes that you can go down if you want to. Which, it's nice.
目に入るんですよね。このね、漢検1級ぐらいの膨大な量になってくると、覚えてるか覚えてないか以上に見たことがある気がする。見覚えがあるっていうのがね、実はね、最後の最後で勝負になってくるんですね。
見覚えのあるやつって、漢字で GO でも見覚えがあるけど全く覚えてないんだというようなことはしょっちゅう出ますね。I mean, the stuff that he's talking about, stuff that you feel like you've seen someplace. And I mean, here you can just if you know how to use this, you can like look it up in a targeted way. And we're going to talk about how to use a dictionary like this when we get done with this video a little bit. But if you're just looking for something in there, you can just run across it. You just run across this and you find you find random stuff that you weren't looking for, but maybe you were kind of curious about. I mean, it's great.
いろんな熟語、この覚えてるか覚えてないかギリギリだけど見たことはあるっていうのの数を増やすことが、合格の微妙なラインで重要になってくるっていう経験をね、かつて私はしてますので、でその頃は実際問題ね、漢検漢字辞典中心の勉強してましたよ。よく考えてみたらここ2年ぐらい漢検漢字辞典あんま開いてなかったなと思ってね、原点に立ち返ろうってことですね。はい。確かにこうやって見てみるとね、三字熟語、 三字熟語の大見出し語とか結構あるんですよね。
There are also 3-character compounds in here. There are quite a few of them, which is very true. And you don't really hear as much about those. I mean, yoji jukugo is something you hear about all the time, but sanji jukugo, there are a fair number of as well. And they're useful to know. I mean, you find all sorts of just neat stuff in this.
三字熟語の大見出し語とかさ、当て字とかそういうの全部が全てのジャンルがこうまばらにね、まんべんなくね書かれてるんで、あいうえお順の漢字の順番に並んでるんですけど、この中で絶対出ないやつとかもありますから、出る可能性があるやつに、蛍光ペンとかでペン引いてってね、それをバーッとこう見とくっていうのが結構もはや逆に効率のいい勉強なんじゃないかなっていう。
Yeah, I mean, he's saying just based on all of this, it just seems like. God, I had the World Book Encyclopedia too. Yeah, I guess it is oko would indeed, that means fridge for anyone not familiar with it, be an example of a sanji jukugo.
っていうのは私も経験でも分かりますから、これって大見出し語であったんだみたいな発見がね結構あるんですよね、こうやって見てみるとね。
Yeah, I mean and the text on the screen is saying things you've forgotten you will be reminded of, and that's also very true.
最近の大門さんのねご選択書き取りね、どっからこの漢字出てんねんっていうのはね、実は大見出し語でね普通にあったものだったりするらしいのでね、私がねただこの辞書で見逃してただけというか辞書を見てなかったってだけの可能性がありますんでね、改めてこの辞書中心の勉強に立ち返ることで逆に効率のいい勉強になるんじゃないか。
So he took off his slipcover.
と今の1級レベルだと逆にその方が効率がいいんじゃないかという仮説のもとにちょっと勉強方針を変えてみたいと思います。
Yeah, I mean, he's emphasizing that this is just a hypothesis of his. He hasn't actually tried it out, but I mean, it does make sense for like all the reasons he's talking about, because you have from the people who put these exams together, you have all the kanji that they look at, that you have the things that they emphasize themselves, like in terms of compounds and things like that, and it's all just there, and you can run across things. Yeah, very true. Although, I mean, now there are online encyclopedias. Although, there is really something to be said for having paper copies of things. For one thing, there are studies actually that indicate that you retain information better if you read it off of something that's printed out. And for another thing, I mean, the thing about information that is like digitized and connected to the internet is that somebody can come and change it and like retcon it if they want to. I mean, we're seeing that right now with like Britain's like trying to ban Wikipedia essentially.
思います。はい、でですね、それに従いまして、私の漢検動画の方もですね、この辞書中心の勉強で、大見出し語をやっていきますので、こんなのが実は大見出し語だったんだっていうのをね見つけたりしたら、そうですね、あいうえお順とかかな、あいうえお順とかでちょっと難しめ大見出し語の、問題というか、私の
Okay, he says he's planning on doing a video of specifically looking at these like highlighted words, and now I'm curious if that's already happened.
勉強のための動画に皆さんにもお付き合いいただくみたいな形になると思いますけど、はい、この漢検漢字典中心の大見出し語の動画みたいなのも作っていきたいと思いますので、漢検1級を勉強する方はぜひそちらの動画も楽しみに、していてくださいということでね、かなり早めの前言撤回になってしまいましたけれども、勉強のですね、漢検1級の勉強の中心は漢検漢字辞典に私してみますよということですね。 まあ、この漢検漢字辞典との付き合いってのはなかなか難しいんですけどね。いきなり漢検漢字辞典からね、初心者、漢検1級勉強の初心者はね、まあ、一応買った方がいいですけど、基本はやっぱりこの
Yeah.
問題ね。
In terms of ease of use, on the one hand, it's really well done, but on the other hand, there are skills involved in using this, which is part of what we're going to talk about in a minute.
まず基本の参考書、公式参考書を買って過去問本やって、でそれの意味のわからないやつとかをこの漢検漢字辞典で調べるとか。
Yeah, what he's suggesting for people who are new to this is that they get one of these shorter study guides, and when they see something they don't understand, to then refer to the Kanken Kanji Jiten, which makes sense. I mean, what I've been doing is I had been, before I just decided to start going full on centered around the dictionary here, was I would go to the dictionary and look up like definitions and terms and stuff like that to add that to the information, the very limited information on the list in the Kanken study guide that I was using.
問題で出たやつの熟語を探して線を引くってところから始めていくといいと思いますよ。使い方としてはね。いきなりこれを中心の勉強はちょっと危険だと思います。はい。膨大な量すぎるんでね。で、問題で出たやつとかを熟語を引いていって、だんだん色が蛍光ペンで引いていくとだんだん埋まってきますから。で、そんな中でその隣に似たような熟語ある。あ、こっちも出そうだなっていうのをどんどん語彙を増やしていくっていうのに。
That seems to be originalism.
使えるのはこの
Fair to middling.
ですね。古事ことわざとか当て字熟語。
Yeah, I mean, there are so many there's so many like indices in this thing. I mean, it is great.
軍とかも後ろの方に実はまとまってたりするので、まあ、そういう意味でも使いやすいということでございます。常連の皆さんもね、この漢検漢字辞典自分はこんな風に使ってるよみたいな、そういうことがありましたら、よかったらまたコメント欄で私を指導していただけると嬉しいです。以上、人の意見を聞いてすぐに自分のやり方を変えてしまうキクリンでした。
Okay, first of all, I'm just curious if he did this video on the highlighted stuff, on the highlighted terms. Shojuka だったり知識検定漢検1級大見出しを古事ことわざを語る点数は何だったlet's see 大見出し語って I'll just do a search because he's got tons of videos here and I think this is from a couple of years ago, so chances are if he's done it, it's already here. So let's see 見出し語Okay, yeah, he's done a bunch of these. I wonder if fair to Midland is a pun that people came up with subsequently. Chulgensen. Okay. Let's see. I will magnify my image here to make this easier. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use this thing. Because, I mean, it is a monster. It is huge. Look at how thick this is. Okay. So, first of all, I mean, okay, so he takes off. It probably is a grade for tobacco. I'm taking off the slipcover. Apparently, you're supposed to. I had not known this, and so, okay, here we go. Stop doing that, Chroma Key. Ah, come on. It was working a second ago. Why is it not anymore? Okay, so there are different sections in this. Okay, you have, this is the main event. This is where all of the major entries are. But there are different sections, and so in order to, if you run into a kanji in the wild that you're trying to look up, one of the first places you actually would want to go is here at the very beginning of the book. Because this is where every single radical is written out. And handily enough, it's got their names too. It's useful to know the names of the parts of kanji to remember them, because it gives you another way to talk about them. And if you have that, you can describe them in your memory. That gives you more than just a visual memory of them. It's sort of a supplemental thing. So I'm gonna just put a kanji on screen in a second. Let's see, text. Hang on. Here we go. This is a Kanken 1級 kanji. Actually, let me see. Can we... That certainly fits in with my feeling that it's kind of a Midwestern thing to say. Okay, have we got color anywhere here? Okay, so this kanji here right by my head, you happen to see this. And you want to know what the hell it is. Because there's a lot going on here. This is one of the Kanken 1級 kanji. Now the first thing we notice is this big part on the left, right? That is what is called nezumiha. Because it is the kanji for rat. And let me see. So the first thing we do when we're looking it up here, since we know that, is we go to this section here, where again we have the radicals. Come on, Chroma Key, cooperate with me. And we're going to look for it, and let me see. どこだったっけ? Nezumi. Here we go under, that's 13 strokes. They're divided by stroke count. So Nezumi, 13 strokes, and we go to page brackets 193. Brackets 193 is the section where they have all of these entries grouped by the radical. So we go to 193 here. Once I find it. And this is what it looks like. So, okay, so we're at 193. And we find Nezumi. Nezumi, 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 Nezumi. どこだい? どこなんだお前、ネズミ. はがあるけど。あ、ネズミだった. And since it is an unusual, fairly rare radical, there are only 4 entries in the entire book for it. And so we find ours. And on top, what you find here is their little numbers. And those numbers are the number of strokes in addition to the radical. So Nezumi is 13 strokes. Then so the one we're after here, it has a 9 over it. So it's 13 strokes plus 9 for the bit on the right side of it, which is kakshigamae is that big sort of C-shaped thing that contains all the rest of it. Then hi, the sun, and under it onna, woman. So okay. So that little bit on the right side is 9 strokes for a total of 22, which is useful because there's another way of looking things up in here. So we found it, and it says go to page 109. I put a bookmark on page 109, and that bookmark fell out a second ago, so we're gonna have to look for it again. And what do you know? Oh, come on. And we find it. It's right there. I'm pointing at it. You can't really read it very well. But, so there we find, and then we have the number, it says what the radical is. On top, it gives the onyomi, the main onyomi, which is 1. And then it gives you the total stroke count in brackets, which is 22. The radical, which is Nezumi, which is 9 strokes. It's as a Nezumi plus 9 strokes. And in a little rectangle, it says that this is a Kanken 1級 kanji. Level 1 kanji kente kanji. Then we get the readings. In addition to 1, we have Mogura. Mogura is the official animal of Prague. Krteček, a mole. And we find it can be read as Mogura and Mogura mochi. Mogura mochi is just another name for Mogura, a mole. And we have then 1 jukugo, 1 compound that it is, and it is this kanji here that's beside my head, plus just the kanji for rat. And it is read Mogura, it tells us. And it says Mogura ka no honyu dobutsu no sousho. So a general term for moles. Krtečki. So anyway, so that is one way. You're looking it up by radical. But let's say you don't know the radical. Well, or you don't feel like looking it up that way for some reason, or you looked it up there and for some reason you just didn't see it. Well, it's got help for you. There's a whole section. Where is it? Sogaku Sakuin. This section is just raw stroke count. Lady Mondegreen. And so we know the stroke count. Each page will tell of this section tells you how many strokes are in it. So 20画24画もう飛び越したな。19 oh, here we go. Two pages were kind of stuck together. 21 22 come on, chroma key, work with me here. 22画. So we go here and we look through, and it is a fairly distinctive one, isn't it? So that shouldn't be too hard. And there we go. Up above in this section, you will find the radical. So there's only one 22 stroke character with Nezumiha, and that is our friend here, Mogura, Krteček. And it tells us, go to page 109, as we did. And so there is just tons of stuff like that. And then you have this index that is just Yoji Jukugo. All the Yoji Jukugo that are in here, and therefore all the Yoji Jukugo. Oh, come on, damn it. You gotta help me out here, Chroma Key. I'm not trying to wipe this out. And you can go here and find them all. There's also a phonetic one. So, there's also a phonetic index. So, and that is often going to be the harder one, because for certain things you're going to have a huge number of entries, like for un. Let me see how many I have to get to un before we can. So, kori, kezuru, kuru, kusai, kutsurogu, kan, kaze, useru, a iu, o da kara, eki, yeah, there are a whole lot of kanji. And they are ordered by stroke order. And so towards the end, we find our old friend Krteček, Mogura, and it tells us, go to page 109. I mean, and it's great. And so you could just, I mean, you can also just get lost in this thing. But that is how you use it. When you are just looking through, if you want to skip that, everything is also ordered phonetically by onyomi. So if you go to gan, you will find anything that's main on reading is gan right in that section. It will also occasionally show you what are called itaiji, which are other ways of writing the same kanji. Let me just make sure I'm pointing to it. Yeah, there we go. See, my middle finger there is pointing to the itaiji of the gan that is right there, and that is junikyu. Like, seriously, if you just sort of throw darts at this book, you will hit an ikkyu kanji. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, actually, and we'll play just a little. We're going to switch over, and we're going to play just a little bit of Kanji de GO, and then I'm going to have a quick bio break. Actually, I mean, might as well, since I'm wrapping up one section, just do the bio break now and then do Kanji de GO. So that's what we're gonna do.
Hi, and welcome to Hyperpolyglotting with Elise. I am Elise, translator, editor, and writer with 20 working languages, and this is where we talk about languages and language learning and all sorts of other stuff, and we play games.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time. And we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Perfect. Okay, 3 of 4.
El hospital
漢検1級の先というのは、本当に誰も知らない字ばっかりでしょうね。私は
Okay, we've leveled up and it is time to pick another language.
Morfar är tröttare än vanligt.
Maten är färdig. And let's see what we're doing when we get back. Greek. We're doing Greek when we get back. Ben neredeyse her gün okula giderim. Fun fact. Turkish. Hello, Shakespeare. How you doing? Fun fact, in Spanish, the word for bishop in chess is alfil. And that actually comes from Arabic. Fil. The same word fil as this. Meaning elephant, because the bishop traditionally was to represent elephant units somehow. Similarly, in Russian, the word for bishop is sword, and that also means elephant.
This is Elise with an update on the ongoing Inessa Armand translation project. We now have 37 of the 38 extant essays and speeches by Inessa Armand translated into English for the first time, and we are just short of the halfway mark on the fundraising progress as well. This enrichment of the English language Marxist canon has only been possible with your support, and it's been a real lifeline for me. So anyone who would like to support this project can find links in the description for how to do so, and everybody who has already supported it has my sincerest thanks.
Ça, c'est ça, che c'est ça, non ça, c'est ça. Sol chi sa che nulla sa, ne sa più di chi ne sa. Ecco.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Hyperpolyglotting avec Elise. Moi, c'est Elise, traductrice, éditrice et écrivain avec 20 ans de travail. Et ça, c'est la transmission en direct ou en jeu des jeux, surtout GeoGuessr en dernier temps. Et parle des langues, de la linguistique, de l'acquisition des langues.
10-159. Haven't made a huge dent in it, but we're getting there. Okay, gonna do some Chinese now. Night. Come on. Yeah. Yo. 5. Ducks are drinking wine. Bakva, okay, Bakvaz is duck. Okay, I have now leveled up. Let's see what the XP situation is now. 10,340 out of 12,500. And as always, viewers can choose my next language for me just with a follow and a $5 to my Patreon.
Sotto le frasche del capanno 4 gatti grossi stanno. Sotto 4 grossi sassi, 4 grossi e grassi gatti. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Un généreux déjeuner régénéré des généraux dégénérés. Facile. Sì, ecco, la gente, è la cosa che mi dice la gente, sempre che scoprisce che quante lingue parlo, io sempre avevo l'impressione, diciamo, di che non era così, non era tan così, ma poi, dopo di aver visto qualche poliglota in YouTube, una delle cose che avevo scoperte era giustamente che la metodologia usata da quella gente poliglota che non avevo mai conosciuta prima, era più o meno la stessa metodologia che usavo io.
I buy a computer or quack, and here's another example. I like to point these out. For this word for or, quack sounds vaguely like hogun and the hok in hogun in Korean or waku in Japanese, and that proves it is the exact same kind of character.
Okay, let me see.
Un chasseur, sa chambre chassée, ses chassés sont son chien de chasse.
Der dicke Dach.
Okay, der dicke Dachdecker deckt dir dein Dach.
Right, and I'm back. Now we're gonna play a little bit of Kanji de GO. Once I get... Okay. 文字線の入力ができる状態でエンター。集団データがあります。始めるぞ、四字熟語。Let's just make sure. Yeah, that's looking good. ファイナル。一元孤児だな。エラーが発生しました。差し支えなければ以下のリンクにご報告をお願いいたします。Well, that's a new. I've unlocked a new cut screen. Akiraめる。本当に諦める。カジュアル。虫の名前。哺乳類。Oh, okay, that's neat. Names of bugs, names of mammals. Names of birds. Oh god, that would be hard. 植物、水生生物。Oh, that would be painful. 心のリテラシー、悪口、SNS、心理など気をつけたい言葉や知識。Okay. Interesting. Fish, only variety. Okay, let's go. Rush はもうやってみたんだけど。動物。建設なわけないだろ。Game variable's value is not a function. Okay. Have we broken Kanji de GO? Okay. Kamakiri. Ah, Kamakiri. Ah, そうだ。操縦撃破じゃなくて何なんだ。ギガ鳥獣ギガ。下限の月満月から新月からまで56。なんだよこれ。ずっとやってきたんだけど故障したことは一度もねえけど、今は故障ばっかり起こしてるんだ。じゃあ報告しましょう。Okay. Let's see. Is this gonna keep happening?じゃあ、今日は漢字で語をの部分は以上かと思いますね。故障ばっかり起こして。じゃあ、okay. 漢字で語 seems to be broken for the moment, so we're gonna just go back to looking at videos, I think. First, let me see. Don't need my head to be quite that big. Ah, damn it. No, come on. There. That is... There, that's better. First of all, I was thinking... Let's see, what's the... So, 2年前、2年... I'm gonna look at another of these because he's talking about we were looking at the headline words and how he had heard that the highlighted words in the Kanken Jiken actually accounted for something like 60 to 80% of what shows up on the test. So I thought we might look at that continuation. He said he was going to do another video where he actually tries it out. 超実践的カスタマイズ出題漢検1級対策マイナー大見出し語漢検1級対策大見出し語あへん漢検1級にも役立つ漢検1級大見出し語勉強 Okay, we're gonna look at this one
どうも
Okay, no transformers and no jam. Okay, first of all, let's... damn it. Bear with me for a moment. Let's try and do up the quality.
Domo, 漢検1級を3年ぶりに受かる予定芸人のキクリンです。さあ、ということでね、もう漢検試験までね、2月ですか、12日ですか。
Okay, here's the link for the video.
3週間を切ろうかという時期にね、これ撮っておりますけれども、今回はね、受かりたいんです。前回落ちた時はですね、ちょっと動画のね、編集に時間をかけすぎて、勉強時間が少なくなったなんていうね、言い訳もございましたので、今日は動画撮影と私の勉強を同時進行でお送りしたいと思いますのでね、テンション的にも本当。
So, okay. So he's gonna do this video at the same time as he's actually studying based on the highlighted vocabulary.
そんなにね、上げていかないで勉強に付き合ってください。私の勉強にただ皆様に非常に役立つものになります。今日やるのはですね、漢検1級勉強のエアポケット落としない
エアポケット Air Pocket Interesting 漢検1級にも役立つ11級大見出し語
になっているというですね、漢検準1級大見出し語です。はい、これはどういうことかと言いますと、漢検1級には当然1級大見出し語っていうね、漢検の漢字辞典の
Okay, so this is actually the reason he's saying that this also is good for Kanken 1級 studies is that it is Jun 1級. Jun 1級 is like almost 1級. It's like Kanji de GO 1.5. I mean, Kanji Kente 1.5 level.
あるんですけど、それが中止になって1級のやつが出ます。そして最近は常用漢字のやつも結構出るよって中で、実は私がねかなり見落としていたのが準1級配当の漢字が入っている大見出し語、これをねかなり見逃してたんですね。なんか1個か2個毎回ね見たことないような、しかも、でも、そんなに難しくはないような感じなんだけど熟語わからないっていうのが PDF でやってますけど、今回はちょっと、
Okay.
紙に出してみましたね。意味も書き込みたいんでね。 ここからねちょっと準1級のやつをね出していきたいと思ってます。出しながら私も解くというね、私も書きながらねやっていきたいと思っております。私の勉強にお付き合いください。
Okay, so we're gonna watch how he's studying for this as he talks about how he's doing it. That should be interesting.
さあ早速いきましょう。まずはですね、苦難に耐え固く節操を守るという意味の校長。
校長、苦難にいっぱいあえがたく節操を守る。校長、好きの校と調べの長じゃなくて、校長。
苦難に耐え固く節操。
苦難に耐え。I was reading the subtitles and the subtitles were wrong. 苦難に耐え。So resisting, withstanding difficulties and suffering.
守るという意味の校長ですね。今日は対義語とか類義語あるいは
校は抗生物質の校かな。
は、5選択書き取りに出そうな熟語を私がこの2枚の中からですね厳選させていただいて出していこうということです。今日は30から40ぐらいにしようかね、歩数ね。はい、私も勉強しながらですからね、皆さんも書きながら付き合ってください。はい、苦難に耐え固く節操を守るという意味の校長。正解は
後の校。そうですか。
校長
見たことねえね。
はい、わかりやすいようにね、私の字が汚いんでちゃんとテロップも出していきますね。はい、これはね、後になって。
So what he's doing here is he's taking the definition and trying to remember the jukugo, the compound based on it.
しぼむという意味ではなくて、しぼむに遅れるみたいなやつかな、最後までしぼまないで残るみたいな意味だそうですね。はい、苦難に耐え固く節操を守るという意味です。続きまして、始まり起こりという意味の権与。
始まり起こりという権与。権与、始まり起こりの。
はい、これベタもんですね。始まりと終わりってね、大量で出そうですよ。
知らん。なんだろ
う。はい、いきますよ。権与。正解は。
I mean, one thing that is just funny to watch is these machine-generated subtitles get none of this right. 権利の権
でございます。始まりという意味でございます。
Now I'm curious. I have my Kanken dictionary here. Yo. Because I have seen that kanji before, definitely. Yoku じゃなくよだけ。よ。なんかここにあんねー。いやこれはよじゃこれも違うな。ではこれもよいじゃなくよ あ、よ、あったぞ。これは、よ、腰、車乗せる、多い。人がかつて担ぐ乗り物。だって物事の始め。Yes, okay, so the beginning of things. 召使い。万物を乗せる大事。The earth as the thing that carries all things. 剣よ。あ、確かにあったな。他には腰。昔の貴人の乗り物の一つ。腰入れ。よず。よじ。あ、interesting. Okay.
続きまして、伸び伸びしているという意味の長達。
長達、長い長でしょうか。
伸びみたいな字が入りますね。
Okay, I was hoping actually to find one where he is in fact just talking about the effectiveness, because he said he was going to be doing something like that at some point. So let's just see. 漢検1級動画。漢検1級受験にも役立つ。漢検1級さえないし難所。Okay, I'm not finding one that describes that. So we're going to sort of move on to something else here. And that is an academic analysis of the most versatile bad word in Afrikaans. I haven't done anything to do with Afrikaans in a while, and this just showed up in my Rex, and it sounds interesting. This is by ET Afrikaans. And I'm going to drop the link in chat in just a sec.
Today,
Here we go. Folk. Yes, indeed. It is everywhere in Afrikaans.
Continue your Afrikaans education with the very important word folk. Folk is indeed a much more nuanced word than many might think. Folk is the word for a foresail of a ship.
Really?
You can see in the picture the reddish-pink sail. That is a folk.
Och, dat is een fok.
And the plural of that is fokker, which in English would be foresails. Of course, then there's also the fokmas, which is the
which sounds like a holiday.
Almost. And that is what the fok is attached to. And then, of course, you need something to attach the fok to the fokmas. And that would be the
Fokstag.
which is a forestay in English. And
Okay,
that
this is
simply the wire or the
interesting.
cable,
I had no idea where we were going with this. Well, it's 8 minutes, so maybe this is just the bit she's
on
doing
a
to start out.
sailboat that supports the mast from the front. Now, an old use for the word fok as a verb is to mean breeding with animals. It does give that definition in the Afrikaans dictionary, but it also mentions that it is an old use and out of date. We do in fact not use that anymore. We now use the word deal. So we deal with animals. We do not fok with animals
A very important thing to know.
anymore. So when you referred to a breeding
Fokkerai.
practice in the
Fokskap. Fokhings.
olden days, it would have been a fokkerij. And then you would have the fokhunks, which is the breeding stallion, or a fokskap, which was the breeding sheep. That then brings us to the meaning that most people know these days, which is sex. Now, the way we use it in Afrikaans is in many ways borrowed from the English.
This is not surprising.
But if you look at the old meaning, where it meant breeding, then you can see how we came to our own conclusion and how we eventually ended up using the word fok to mean sex, just as you do in English. So, of course, the Afrikaans fok is the English fuck. As an exclamation, you can simply say fok when you stub your toe. Of course, you can also go for the very popular fokket. And then there are ach fok and oorfok. In English, you have fuck off. In Afrikaans, you have fok off, which is just a little bit more round in pronunciation.
But it gets the message across bilingually.
According to the WAT, which is the Woordeboek van die Afrikaanse taal, you can spell that word either fok off with 1K or fok off with 2Ks. Now, I prefer
2 Ks. You gotta go with 2 Ks.
fok off with 1K, because according to the English one, which is
But on the other hand, there's a palindrome either way, so you don't even have that.
fuck off, it just makes more sense to just go fok off without 2Ks, but the choice apparently is all yours. That then brings us to I don't
Ek
give
geen
a
je
fuck,
fuck om nie.
which is ek gee nie a fok om nie. But we also have another one. That is a fok fool, which is also don't give a fuck. A fok fool, literally translated or directly translated, means a fuck feel
A fuck fool.
or feel a fuck.
Which you have to distinguish from a fuck fool, which would be like a fuck bird.
Right? So a fok fool. And the way you would use
Voel
that
a
is ek voel a fok, which means I don't give a fuck. If you don't want to go for the vulgar fok, you can also go for fear. Ek voel a fear, of ek voel a val fear,
This is a good channel for if you want to learn about the Afrikaans language.
which literally and directly translated, the first one means I feel a feather, and the second one means I feel a pale feather. That's directly translated, right?
Oh, there's a bit of an escalation there, one senses.
Meaning, of course, is I don't care at all. So, ek voel 'n val fear, or ek voel 'n fear. Another thing to note is that in Afrikaans we combine many, many words with fok
And with rond, you can use that all the time.
to form special
Rondnik.
fok verbs. One of those is rond. So we form rondfok, which is also
Rondfok en uitvind.
fok, rond, two separate words if you write it the other way around.
I think she actually does have some videos like that.
That means to fuck around.
But yeah, there isn't a huge amount of Afrikaans language content on YouTube. I've occasionally looked for it.
Hy fok rond, which means he sleeps around, he fucks around. Moenie my rondfok nie. Don't mess me around. So that's the other.
It's interesting to note that the negative imperative in Afrikaans is the negative imperative in Chinese as well. It's buyao. Moenie, must not.
They use is messing somebody around. And that brings us to the next very popular opfok, or fok op. And that basically means to mess someone or something up. So used in the context of messing someone up, or making a mess of something or a situation.
Yes, to fuck up.
Hy gaan jou opfok. He's going
Hy gaan jou opfok. I just like I love the line reading there.
to mess you up, or he's going to beat you up. Ek het opgefok. I messed up. And then we have the noun.
Dis wat die 54 weet Afrikaners wat Donald Trump's oproep gevolg is in USA toe is gegaan. Nou wil sê, ik heb het opgefok. Ik zal in Zuid-Afrika moet blij.
Fuck up, which basically means a mess or a fuck up. Die hele situasie is a fuck up. The whole situation is a fuck up or a mess. The adjective fuck all, again according to the WAT.
I love that the dictionary abbreviation just works out to what?
It can be spelled
Because that is in fact the Afrikaans word for what? Va.
with 1K and with 2Ks. I prefer using 1K. It just feels better, makes more sense to me. And it means, as an adjective, absolutely nothing. Ek voel fokol. I feel absolutely nothing. Fok weet or die fok weet means
The fuck knows. Wow, yeah, you get more specific.
fuck knows. Another noun, fokker, which is
Also an aeroplane.
fucker. Yo fokker. You fucker. Then you can combine it with the Afrikaans question words. Here are some of the examples. Wat de fuck, hoe de fuck,
Who the
wie de
fuck come?
which means what the fuck, how the fuck, and who the fuck. For not a fuck, you wanna go nie a fuck nie.
The Knights who say nie, but they say it twice because they're South African.
Ek gee nie a fuck om nie. I don't give a fuck. Another descriptive word, befok.
Be fucked.
Befok, and its first meaning is furious.
Ingatzat.
Ek is so befok. I am so furious. The second meaning of befok is
Beklopt.
insane. Is jy befok? Are you insane? Jy is befok in jou kop. The meaning, you are insane or you are crazy. The literal direct translation is you are fucked in the head. As an adjective, and the English fucking, the Afrikaans word is fucken. Fuck dit. Fuck that. Another awesome word is the Afrikaans word
So wow, fuck on. I've never heard a counterpoint to fuck off.
voortfok or fuck voort. That means just fuck on. Just continue on. There is a saying in Afrikaans that we use when you want to say you have to continue on
So it's like keep calm and carry on. Kyk noord and fuck voort.
despite everything that you're struggling with, in spite of the hardships, you just have to continue moving forward. Then you say kyk noord en fuck voort, which literally translated means look north and fuck on. And then we also insert fuck and fucking
Ongefucking
in
dooflik.
words. So we'll say ongefuckenlooflik, which you also do in English, and that is unfucking
I mean, Afrikaans adopts a lot of things that are done in English, including fucking.
believable. Now we do this with quite a few words. Of course, there are quite a few other words that you combine with fok in Afrikaans, like omfok, oorfok, affok, and more. So, to all of my Afrikaans-speaking friends out there, if you want to add to the fok discussion in the comment section, please feel free.
Now I'm
Things are-
curious. Okay, we gotta check out the fuck discussion in the comments. My gunsteling Ian. Ach, my voorseel. Daar leer ik ook iets, dankie. Het is niet bij mijn goede fuck. My good fuck. Helaas is daar geen... is daar niet bij comments niet. That's a pity. Fuck. Oké, ons gaan noord kijken voor het fuck en video kijken van Psycholingo. Because I've been enjoying it. He followed the method, why can't he speak? That should be interesting.
What if the best way to learn a language was by saying nothing at all? Today
Oh, okay, we're talking about algae. the green slime that is also an input, a radically input-based language learning method where you basically say nothing ever. It is good practice for dealing with the cops.
We're going to look at a video of somebody who talks about dreaming Spanish, which uses the ALG method, so automatic language growth, where they learn simply through input.
And let me just say, one of the things that I kind of advise, Moin Guillaume, is with channels like Dreaming Spanish, they will give their own ideas about how to use something that they make, but that doesn't mean you have to use it that way. Sometimes you can get into this idea of following instructions reflexively, and I would say you can try. I've never been one for following instructions on this sort of thing. I've always gone with trial and error, and if you find that using it as instructed on Dreaming Spanish or another channel is benefiting you, then by all means do it. But experiment. You have the content there. You can find all sorts of ways of using it.
Keep going. I should say to start off, ALG is not just input. I think eventually you want to get to the point where you're outputting, but for the beginning portion, large portion of the learning or acquiring is no output.
Yeah, I mean, that is the main thing. I guess there is eventually going to be output, but...
Today we're going to look at a video of a man who has been learning using Dreaming Spanish. I'm going to give you a critique on it.
Más de 2000 horas de input comprensible, has estado estudiando con Dreaming Spanish y estábamos viendo el roadmap y ahora mismo estarías más allá del nivel 7, ¿verdad?
Okay, well, if he's understanding this, then it hasn't been completely in vain, is the first thing. I mean, this is reasonably normal speed Spanish. I mean, it's not particularly complicated, but if he started from nothing and he's done like 2,000 hours of this, and he understands all of what this guy just said, then, I mean, he has definitely benefited from this.
Sí, más allá.
Entonces, debería cumplirse lo que pone en el roadmap. Por ejemplo, el punto 1. ¿Entiendes contenido general sin esfuerzo?
Okay, so he's been learning or doing it, I guess, acquiring for 2,000 hours.
Yeah, okay, I mean, so far, I mean, we haven't heard all that much speaking from him, which I guess since they're saying he can't speak, I guess we're definitely not going to hear a whole lot, but he understood that, which is not bad.
And so he should be at level 7 in the roadmap for
And here's another thing about these roadmaps. Think of them as estimates. I mean, the best of these sorts of roadmaps are going to be approximations. Because all of this depends, all of these methods, the results depend very much on the brain that they're being applied to. What that brain already has in it. What other things that brain is dealing with. You know, I mean, because you're going to get different results if you have, if you're dealing with a lot of stress, then you're going to get, if you have like a period of intense relaxation where you can really dedicate yourself to these things. If you already have a romance language in your head, then you're probably going to do better than somebody who doesn't. All sorts of things. So the first thing, I mean, take these sorts of roadmaps with a grain of salt.
Spanish, which says you can understand general content effortlessly.
Como novelas, periódicos, televisión, cine.
I will say, of all the aspects of the
He's already switched to English.
Map, yeah, my understanding is pretty good.
Okay, I mean, and if he was able to just understand these things that were just said to him, then I would say his understanding definitely is pretty good. I would,
This is one thing too, like, I'm not trying to critique his Spanish, but the fact that he is using English to respond would suggest also that he doesn't have the words to say for Spanish.
I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't say he doesn't have the words, because if he understood that, then he's got at least some of the words. The question, I mean, there's more than one thing that's going on here. There's a language acquisition explanation for this. There's also a general confidence thing, explanation for this. Like, he understands all these words. If he's acquired these words to the point where he comprehends what's being said to him, then he should be able, I would imagine, to come up with a rudimentary, not necessarily very grammatical, but probably understandable answer in Spanish, if he's got the confidence to do it and he's willing, and the confidence to say things and, fuck up. Because that is a natural part of the whole process. You're going to say things that don't come out right. You're going to make mistakes, no matter, that is always going to be a thing. But it takes a certain amount of confidence to say, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
To reply to this.
Je moet, zoals het Afrikaans al gezegd, jij moet nooit kijken en voortvolgen. Met jouw taal.
Or is that the first thing that comes to mind? Now, that's not always necessarily true. People who have high levels of fluency in a language can use whatever language they want to respond, especially if they know the speaker understands them. Like, sometimes when I speak to my Chinese friends who speak English, I'll switch back and forth. Whereas if I speak Chinese to somebody who doesn't speak English, I'm less likely to use English. I will say, and I don't know if this is just me, but I find that relationships are conducted in specific languages. So if I'm used to speaking in Spanish to somebody, it will feel very awkward to speak in English to them. If I've been speaking German with somebody for as long as I've known them, to just switch over to English just feels weird because, maybe I've never even heard them speaking it. I've, never heard what their voice sounds like in it or whatever. Use it, though. I use it a lot for,
feels
words.
Unnatural
so
to
words
me.
So, and... I'll do that. Yeah, but so he has pretty good comprehension. Like, he's talking to, I assume, a native speaker of Spanish. And
I would say so. I would say probably, doesn't sound Mexican, but definitely Latin American.
He's responding in English, doing, crosstalk.
I watch movies. I listen to audiobooks. We play video games with characters with French accents. And... Generally speaking, my understanding
Not sure what the French accents are to do with it, but okay.
Pretty good. But it's not 100%. I'm still learning every time I'm experiencing input.
Which is, that's normal, I would say. In fact, that's the thing. Even native speakers are constantly picking up new things about their languages. If there's one thing you take from the videos we're watching about the Kanken, and the Kanji Jiten, which, I'm just gonna say again, I fucking love this book. Kono hon daisuki da yo. Yes. Okay. Is that native speakers of these languages, there's plenty that they don't know. Like the kanji that you learn to do, the Kanken 1級, are all things that, most, native speakers do not know. In fact, when I've been playing Kanji de GO on times when it's not breaking, 故障しないときは there will be Japanese people in chat, and one of the things that they say without fail is, even native speakers don't know most of these. So there is always room to be learning more. I've been in a room in seminars on medieval Spanish literature with basically representatives of the not really the entire, but a wide spectrum of the highly literate Spanish-speaking world. Postgrads from Chile and Spain and Mexico and Colombia and Argentina, all over, and we're reading Góngora or something. And you run into words everybody doesn't know because nobody uses them anymore. So one thing to just understand is that's always going to be a part of it. If you're experiencing the language and going to new places with it, you're always going to be picking up new stuff.
So that could be considered effort. Let's say I'm getting 85-90% most of the time.
After 2,000 hours, if he's watching content specifically for native speakers, like movies and novels and stuff like that, I would say he's doing well, actually. I would say he's doing really well. That's a self-assessment. You got to take that with a grain of salt, too. But my immediate thought is, that's not bad. And one of the things that I would wonder immediately is, how many opportunities does this guy have to actually talk? how many situations does he find himself in that elicit speech? Speak fluently and effortlessly. Native speakers might still detect a slight accent. Yeah, I mean, see, here's another reason you have to take these roadmaps with a grain of salt, because, I mean, some people, you might find that. But, I mean, already fluently and effortlessly, what does that mean? What are you saying fluently and effortlessly? Are we talking nuclear physics, or are we talking, you know, the works of Góngora and El Arciprete de Ita? Or are we talking about what to order for dinner? Like, this, I mean, these things are very different.
Quien pone que puedes hablar de forma fluida y sin esfuerzo. Y que podrías
oh, no,
tener
okay, sin esfuerzo. Okay, so he's from Spain.
pequeño acento.
So it says that he can speak fluently and like converse with native speakers, but it seems like he struggles with that, which is why he's using English.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly must be struggling with that. I would tend to agree, but of course the question is why. Because there are lots of different reasons that you can be struggling, and I hope we get into that.
Sí, solo un pequeño acento.
Yeah, I mean, he's joking about how much of an accent he has there, because there is a definite accent. But he did switch over to Spanish, which is good. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, your accent will probably improve the more you use it, and the more you're hearing, because you're also constantly refining these things. You're absorbing stuff around you.
Acento exótico y maravilloso.
An exotic accent.
Me gusta mucho, pero tienes acento. Yo puedo notar perfectamente que no eres español.
Gracias. Hablo como un gringo, o como dices, un guiri.
Un guiri.
Sí, y a mí me gusta mucho, pero se nota que tu acento es de fuera de España, que es extranjero.
Absolutely.
Dice,
yeah, like so he's switching back and forth, but he is definitely. It sounds okay. So it sounds like he is confident to say some things in Spanish. They are just coming out spontaneously. You may still make some mistakes. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like that. In fact, that is something that will accompany you always dreaming Spanish. Like even native speakers are making some mistakes, but I mean, I feel like these are somewhat unrealistic expectations in terms of production. Understanding if you're using input that is on the right level, roughly, I would say you probably would get to a point where your understanding would be really, really good. And you might start to have enough to really interact. But, I mean, I hope we get into how much interacting this guy actually does. Because, like, is this the only time he's had a conversation in Spanish? Because if that's the case, then this does not surprise me that he hasn't completely gotten the hang of just talking in it.
Que puedes cometer algunos errores. ¿Cometes algún error? Uno o dos errores.
Casi nunca.
Yeah.
No, claro.
Okay, so why can't he speak? Okay, that, I mean, that is sort of a provocative title, but he can definitely speak some. He can definitely speak some. He's making, and what the things he's saying, I will say as a Spanish speaker myself, I understand him. He hasn't said anything that I can't make sense of. But he also isn't saying a whole lot in Spanish. And there are all sorts of reasons for that. I mean, it could be he's just not confident. GeoGuessr fans can look at that. Oh, well, actually, it's hard to say. I was just noticing the plug socket, and it's like, I can work out where he is based on that. But actually, Australia and Argentina have Scream-style plug socket configurations, and you need better resolution on your screen in order to be able to tell whether that's the shape of the holes. So, no.
Miles cada día. Miles de errores.
That's
Yeah,
the thing
like
too,
his
it's
pronunciation, his pronunciation isn't there, but it's like, it's understandable. It is absolutely, I'm understanding everything. And he's speaking spontaneously, also. Which is, I mean, okay, so he has definitely benefited somewhat from whatever he's doing. If he's just doing Dreaming Spanish, then he's definitely benefited from it. If he's doing Dreaming Spanish plus other stuff, then he's benefited from that. And I would say, I mean, based on what I'm hearing and his ability, he's clearly responding, he's answering the question that is asked. And there isn't a whole lot of effort on the part of the guy who he's talking to, who I'm not familiar with, to make the question easy. You know, there isn't like foreigner talk, as it's sometimes called in language acquisition circles. He is so, I mean, I would say that this is, if he started from nothing, he's definitely improved a lot. And I would say probably if he keeps this up, he will keep getting better.
With mistakes or errors, I would argue that a mistake is something you do that's wrong, but you realize you did something wrong, whereas an error is something that you don't realize is wrong, and so you...
Okay, that is interesting. I've never heard this distinction. It's an interesting distinction. And of course, the thing about this distinction is it does not work if you translate it into Spanish, because we just say errores. We might say un error cometido por descuido, which is to say an error, a mistake that's been made because of carelessness. Un descuido también se puede decir simplemente, pero error es error. Todo lo todo lo que constituye un error puede ser un mistake or an error. So this actually is a complicated thing to translate.
You don't notice it because you don't know it's wrong. If he says I make hundreds or thousands or millions of mistakes, you know, like I make thousands of mistakes every day, he's probably saying generally that's what he feels, but whether or not he makes that many mistakes, he's not going to know that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the thing is, again, they're talking in Spanish, and in Spanish, this distinction that he's making does not exist. Riveroon, we talking about this video? Or one of the previous ones? Because this video, what he's looking at is a guy who did apparently 2,000 hours of dreaming Spanish, and seems to, so far he's doing this interview with a guy from Spain, and he seems to be understanding everything the guy's saying, and the guy isn't making a particular effort to make it easy for him. But he's definitely having a lot of trouble speaking. And Psycholingo is contrasting that with what Dreaming Spanish apparently calls the roadmap, which is something I hadn't seen before, and what they say are expectable results following this much use of their method.
Especially if he makes more than that.
Does that bring you up to date? I think that should probably cover it. Because what I was observing about this guy is, like, he responds if Dreaming Spanish, if 2,000 hours of Dreaming Spanish is all he's done, I mean, depending on how much opportunity he has to talk to people in Spanish, it seems to me he's actually doing pretty well. If this is all the Spanish-speaking opportunity he gets, I mean, yeah, he definitely has a very distinct accent, but you can understand what he's saying. And he is responding accurately to the questions. Like, he isn't... Like, Psycholingo was talking about that guy who said that he was like C1, C2 in Chinese. And he was remarking on how he was not always... He was in this podcast talking to these 3 Chinese guys. And he was not always actually responding to the question they asked. Like he maybe didn't understand what the question was. And this guy, from his responses, seems to be clearly understanding what the questions are. So, I mean, in terms of the passive aspect of it, I would say he's doing quite well.
I realize it's an error.
There's so much I still don't understand about, especially 2 types of past tense, or...
Again, here's one of the challenging things. When you come from a background of learning languages, like learning about languages, where they teach you this is el pretérito and this is el perfecto, you know, and as opposed to acquiring these distinctions. And that would be the really interesting thing, because the thing is, a lot of native speakers, acquire these sorts of distinctions. Like, I mean, we do all sorts of weird, fine distinctions in English that we aren't aware that we're doing unless we are making an effort to observe them. Like, think about the way we use come versus go, for example, is way more complicated than I think any of us actually realize unless we sit down and think about use cases. Por en para. So he's having trouble, I guess when he says por en para, a nightmare for him. I would be interested to know if he's saying he has trouble choosing which one, in which case he's like being very conscious about the words that he uses, which suggests to me just a lack of confidence, which is not uncommon. Or if he's saying he has trouble understanding when somebody says por y para, when someone says por versus para. I mean, I hope this gets into a lot of detail.
Por y para are still a nightmare for me. When to say el or un.
Okay, so he's talking about production. Oh, when to say them and when not to. Okay. See, I mean, we're talking about relatively fine distinctions to some extent. Like, with that. Like, that suggests to me... yeah, I mean, if... This suggests that to me that he's being very conscious about it, and he isn't necessarily being all that spontaneous in his speech. You know, which, again, that suggests he doesn't get a lot of chance to use it. But okay. But these are definitely things that learners learners struggle with, all of them. Especially English-speaking learners.
And when not to. Soy abogado, pero soy un genio. Those kinds of things. And gender, you know me, every sentence I mess up the gender on some words.
Well, I'd be interested to know which words, because there are certain words where the gender is actually more complicated than you'd expect, and where the explanation for why it's gendered one way or another requires a discussion of etymology. Like, el día. Why is it el día? Well, you have to know about Vulgar Latin and the third declension and the way that vowels phonetically developed from Vulgar Latin to modern Spanish. Why is it el problema? Well, because it's from Greek and it's the Greek neuter. Problema, sistema, diadema, all of this is the Greek neuter, and that is why it is el, because Spanish does not have a neuter. Like, are we talking about those things, or are we talking about simple things, where basically what you could call the main use case of grammatical gender in Spanish, which is things ending in o versus things ending in a? Or are we talking about you start to say the sentence and you say el, and then you realize in the middle that actually the word you need is la? I mean, there are lots of things when we talk about this. And you have to
some mistakes.
También dice que
the thing with gender too is
nobody considers you a learner anywhere. That's a weird one, because that all depends on how people define a learner. Like,
Spanish is there, for the most part, there are rules for how, like, when to use which gender with a word, and if you like learn, this is part of morphological awareness, but if you like learn some of those rules, it becomes easier for you to remember what gender goes with which word.
Well, yeah, except here's the thing. And I don't know if Psycholingo speaks Spanish, but the reason that there are challenges, one of the main things that's challenging is that those rules are not always strictly followed. Because you've got el día. If you learned morphologically, and the reason people are confused by this as learners, is that el día does not follow the rule. El problema does not follow the rule. You know...
Not always, but usually if a word ends in it's like la. Not always, though. But I do remember...
yeah, exactly. This is the challenge, and I would imagine those are the exact things he has trouble with, because, those are, in fact, the things that, like, practically all learners have trouble with and get confused about and ask, why is this so? It makes no sense.
Bufanda, like la bufanda, I think.
Oh, okay, so he does have some Spanish.
I remember this because when I was in Spanish class, the teacher, really great teacher, super nice, it was an advanced grammar class, and the teacher was talking, I don't know why we were talking about La Bufanda, but we were, and my classmate whispered in my ear, like, that sounds like a girl's name, like Bufanda.
It does, it really does.
Just like started laughing in class, you know, and the teacher's like,
God, it sounds like a Spanish drag name. Actually, is what it sounds like.
"What's so funny?" And like, we don't want to say, you know, because she was pretty serious. She's a nice lady, but she's pretty serious. So I feel like she would have been irritated at that. For this Dreaming Spanish Roadmap Level 7, no one considers you a learner anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is one. I mean that's just a weird thing to put in there.
Which seems kind of high, especially given like his experience.
Nadie te considera ya un estudiante. ¿Tú crees que dejamos de aprender y de ser estudiantes del idioma? ¿O de
Yeah, I mean,
aprender un idioma?
I feel like at 2,000 hours, I finally am a student.
Ooh, that goes way against what Dreaming Spanish does. And Dreaming Spanish obviously isn't an exact science.
Yeah, it really isn't, and I find that odd anyway, because again, people are constantly learning new stuff about their native languages. So, I mean, I guess what they're trying to get at there is that people might assume you're a native speaker. Or people assume that they don't have to, like, be careful about the basics, but that's not very specific. It's like, if that's what they mean, they should be more specific about that. That is vague language at the very least.
The roadmap is kind of to give motivation and to give a general idea. But if he's saying, I feel like I'm just now becoming a student, like I can now be considered a student, that's like the exact opposite of what the roadmap says.
Oh, okay, but here he's defining what he's saying, so let's hear that.
Like, set the baseline, and I can now start learning. Yeah, now I can start learning. This one kind of makes me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just... Yeah, because it kind of reminds me of something the master of, like, my Taekwondo school said to us once. He was saying to one of the various young black belts, he was like, actually, the way you should think of the black belt is, it's like kindergarten. This is where you actually properly start learning the real thing. You've got all the extremely basic stuff, but now you're gonna start with, this is when it really starts. So I think we have different definitions of learners, and it is a very vague way of speaking in this Dreaming Spanish roadmap. And personally, I would say, I would change that. I would be specific. What do you mean exactly by that? Because I like this guy's attitude, because now he's saying, now... Yeah, now he can really properly get started because he understands so much. And I agree very much with that attitude.
But I'm not a student. If I just start talking with a native speaker, they're still going to have to be very kind and very patient. And they're going to probably consider me at a very beginner level as far as speaking goes.
Yeah, as far as speaking goes. I mean, but if he's understanding, like, he seems to have understood everything that the guy he's interviewing him is saying.
Y por último dice que puede ser un miembro eficiente de la sociedad. Esta es...
un miembro eficiente. Translating effective is a really complicated thing. A lot of the time, because other languages have like 5 or 6 words depending on what use. Effective means all sorts of things in English.
Una parte un poco extraña del roadmap.
That is a weird thing to say.
Like in a part of society?
What is an effective member of society? Like, what goes into that? Okay, I mean, that is just... I mean, I guess they mean that you can sort of function in society. Hey, Ata.
I assume they mean like professional, like you have a working, like you can use Spanish in work or in your profession or in like your life. I'm assuming is what they mean.
Considerarte eficiente en la sociedad con 1,500 horas o más de input.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what that means, but if I think about myself as a member of society...
Something about his hair and his glasses immediately makes me think of the guy who tries to goad Marty into a drag race in Back to the Future.
In the English-speaking world, I'm a professor. I have a meaningful job teaching people abstract, cosas. I was going to say
Yeah, see, so he's got some spontaneous Spanish in there. I mean, and I think that is also what we've noticed. So, I mean, I would say, see, again, I mean, and I can also see why he immediately says, I feel like I've just started learning. Because, yeah, you know, he's in an environment where that is not really considered to be something that stops. Which I think is one of the better things about, like, an academic environment. There's a lot that I don't like about it, and I'm glad I'm kind of out of it because of those things. But the idea that, you know, you're always learning stuff actually is a healthy approach.
Things that I'm passionate about. I make friendships easily. I communicate effectively. I don't know what an effective member of society is at my Spanish level. I can wake up and order food and find a bathroom.
Well, I mean, I guess that's one place to eat it.
That's the thing too, like, if he's at 2,000 hours and he feels comfortable doing that, but things beyond that might be too complicated, then you really have to think, like, how good is ALG?
Yeah, I mean, but again, too complicated for what reason? Too complicated because you are having trouble getting the words out and formulating the thought, or too complicated because you don't understand what comes back. I mean, those are all things that have to be teased out.
Now, people who love this type of method, of course, are like, oh, he didn't do it right, you don't understand.
I mean, see, I'm somebody who likes this type of method, and I would say the claims that are made in the roadmap, at best, are kind of extremely vague. And that I would really want, you know, if I would be interested in talking to this guy and, like, teasing out the specifics of some of the things that he's saying, because you can't really measure them against some of the extremely vague claims that are made in the roadmap, which, I think things like that need to be taken with a big grain of salt in the first place. But, I mean, there is a lot that remains to be understood.
But that's the thing, like, if the method is so difficult to actually do properly, is it worth doing at all? Like, I've seen a lot of stories, we're gonna look at one on Reddit in a second, but, like, people talk about how ALG is so effective, but I didn't do it right, and if you just do it right, it's gonna be so good for you. Like, I've heard so many things in my life about this kind of thing. My parents take vitamins, and they always tell me, like, if you just start young, you're gonna be so healthy when you're older, and you're never gonna have disease, and you're like, people have this idea about a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a bit of the Berlitz method, which I was taught to use to teach people a very long time ago. And they were like, okay, everybody will be making wonderful progress as long as you follow the method. And if you don't follow the method, then if they don't, then that means you fucked up with the method. And I, at one point, was dealing with this student, this very a man of significant physical presence, let's say. And he was, at one point, I was following the method because they have people, like, listening in on your classes surreptitiously to make sure you're following the method. And the method was getting this guy to the point where he clearly wanted to put me through the drywall. And eventually, after this, they said, okay, yeah, we're following the method and it's driving these guys out of their heads. So maybe we're going to make some deviations from it in this case.
If ALG is so effective and so good, it shouldn't be that hard for people to do it properly. And it seems like it is. It seems like the majority of people who do it end up doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and I would wonder if somebody's saying, I must be doing it wrong, is there a specific thing that they think that they're doing wrong? Or are they just saying, well, I didn't get the results that were said to be expectable at this particular point, therefore I must be doing something wrong? Because those are also two different things.
Well, then it probably isn't that great of a method. Which brings me to my next point. Dr. Marvin J. Brown, who supposedly developed the method, although I would argue it's just a branch off of Krashen's.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, you could not. I would say if you were to try to patent ALG, you would immediately have to deal with the fact that Krashen's work already was proposing this exact sort of approach from years before ALG was a thing.
Method. He never did any research on it. There's no research on ALG, at least not in English. And if the method is so good, why didn't he, a researcher, publish research on it? He didn't do any. He wrote a book, but he didn't do any research on it. That's questionable. There's no way for us to verify it. And then,
I mean, there are ways for us to verify it, but it would mean us doing the research he didn't.
Even now, like I've searched on many databases. I cannot find any research, at least in English. Perhaps there's research in other languages, but I can't find any research on ALG. I can't find research on how effective it is, on what students think about it, what teachers think about it.
I mean, and I will say, like, we're looking at, we can think of this guy as providing a case study, and if all he's done is 2,000 hours of ALG, of just listening to this content, and he understands things well enough that he doesn't need, like, questions repeated in this interview and stuff, I would say that's actually, that's not bad at all. It's not necessarily what these people are promising, but all of these things, even in the best of faith, are estimates. And a lot of their terms are very vague, and, personally, Dreaming Spanish fixed that. Because, making vague claims like that are very hard for somebody to actually make sense of, that just causes problems. Get specific when you say nobody considers you a learner anymore. Well, what do you mean by that? Stuff like that.
I'll find anything.
I can do those things.
Bueno, podrías encontrar el baño si alguien te dice dónde está.
Exactly. Pero ¿dónde? ¿Dónde está el baño, señor?
Genial, pues muchas gracias, Marc. Creo que nos queda un poco más claro el nivel 7. Entendemos que es simplemente una referencia y que no es real, que este roadmap no se ha hecho con la intención de que sea exacto, sino de motivar a la gente a llegar o a alcanzar.
Okay.
Un objetivo de aprendizaje del idioma.
Exactly, I'll keep you posted.
Okay, if he is understanding this stuff without it having to be repeated, I would say that, then he's definitely done well. And he's having trouble talking, but if he's only just begun talking, then of course he's going to have trouble talking. Yeah, like, I did a review of videos from DS. It's weird calling them DS, because that means something very different to me. I did not know that this roadmap existed. Like, if I had known that roadmap existed, I would have made a very different video, because, again, so many of the claims made in that roadmap that we've seen here are just really, really vague. And I think that those sort of predictions, in any case, should always be taken with a grain of salt, because everybody is different in all sorts of ways, both related directly to language acquisition and to other things.
4,000, 5,000, 10,000 hours to see if I feel like I'm there, but some things just aren't going to happen.
Well, see, I would not say, Koyomin, hi. Welcome. どちらからの方ですか? And now I'm very curious, does he give a link to this video? Because I would be very... Oh, wait. Okay, Dreaming Spanish, the fantasy versus what I guess is the harsh reality? Because I'd like to know, if he's keeping up. Juega con Juárez. Input comprensible. I'm curious, has he done more since then on this? What level 7 feels like in practice. Okay, I'm gonna drop a link to this original, to the original video here into chat for anyone who wants to have a look. But, I'm kind of just interested to see, have we got more follow-up videos with this guy? Mi primer cumpleaños. Udo. We got, let me see, Spain versus Mexico. Can we even understand each other? Interesting. Why, crosstalk feels like magic. Interesting. Okay, the thought. Wow. Okay, that's very blunt. Roadmap level 7. It's a lie, is what the thumbnail says. Okay, it does not look like we've had follow-ups with Mark. Now I'm kind of curious. Is he in there? 'Cause I'd be interested in talking more with him, actually. But, okay, so let's go back to this. So there isn't a follow-up, because I'd be interested to know. I mean, he says his accent is not going to disappear. That may be true. It may not be true. Like, people's pronunciation also shifts. Sí, bo. Soy nativa, bo. Do you speak Spanish? ¿Vos hablas español?
Accent is not going to disappear. I'm not going to know how to pronounce R's without actually training my mouth.
¿De qué parte?
Yeah, there's some things that I think I'll have to work.
Por tu nombre de usuario había supuesto que eres japonesa o japonés, pero... de Alicante.
Okay, that won't...
Yo en España solo conozco Barcelona, que me cayó así de bien que al final se me quedó el compo.
Happen no matter how much input I get.
Yeah, that's true. Like with things like pronunciation, babies, especially babies, like if we're going to compare ourselves to babies don't just start off talking in their language. They have to practice and they have to like play with the sounds.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that they're doing, a lot of it is not, like Evil Dia occasionally will say like, we'll talk about it as if infants are directly, like, intentionally practicing, okay, I'm going to do fricatives now, or something like that. And it's like, no. Like, a lot of the stuff that they're doing initially is just, you have conscious control over things, but you don't know you have conscious control over them. And it's like, okay, if I do this in my brain, wow, my arm does this. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Holy shit, it's still happening. And, yeah. And it's the same thing with, like, phonetics. And so they're just kind of making random sounds and realizing, oh, I have conscious control over this weird thing in my mouth. I have a mouth. Holy shit.
Which is what babies do when they coo. And then as they're beginning to acquire the language, they'll start incorporating the sounds of their mother tongue into their, like, cooing noises.
Yeah, exactly. They gradually become more intentional about it as they realize, oh, I can make my tongue go like this. I can make my tongue go like that. Or whatever.
Babbling and like they do all these different things, right? But it takes time and it takes practice. It doesn't just like click on like a light. And I think people, when they think of language immersion or
and this is I would say probably a problem with descriptions of like skill levels in general as well, because these things these are gradual.
ALG or even like Krashen's natural approach, they just assume it'll just happen. That's just how nature works. But it's not how it works. Language learning is not a vacuum, and when you're pulling parts of the learning out, like, well, you shouldn't talk, and you shouldn't interact, and you shouldn't this, and you shouldn't that.
Yeah, and that's where that is one of the things that I don't really like about what I've heard about ALG, like telling people not to. I think that, this is where it actually forks off from Krashen. Because one of the things that Krashen is constantly making a point of is that speech emerges. That's the word he uses. In other words, at a certain point, you're just going to find yourself forming phrases, forming utterances in your target language. It's just going to start happening to a certain extent, and then, you start doing it. So what he says is, like, don't force it. Don't force people to speak before they're necessarily ready, but create a situation that gives them opportunities to do so once they are, which I think makes a lot more sense. Because obviously the more you do it once you are ready to start, like, producing speech, the better, the more fluid, the better it's going to sound and everything, and the more used to doing it you're going to be. I mean, that's obvious. But I mean, the point that, Krashen is making in his work, and like those who have followed on from it, is that there's a certain point before which there's no point in trying to force people to talk, and it may actually be counterproductive.
That's all a part of the learning process. So if you pull those things out, of course you're not going to do very well. Like 2,000 hours and that's all he's got, it's not very amazing to me. Sure, he might understand things pretty well, but even he said only like 80 or 90% of the time. At 2,000...
I mean, but the thing is with Spanish especially, I mean, there's a whole song about the fact that Spanish is so totally different from one place to the next. Like, so I would say, if you've got 2,000 hours, 85 to, knowing the content that Dreaming Spanish has, you're not going to have had a huge percentage in any particular variant of Spanish. And so, like, you're not... so I would expect that you would have trouble understanding, say, a Mexican movie where everybody's speaking Mexicano, and the pronunciation is going to be different, and they've got all sorts of very specific words. Que chingao, weón. Yo no hablo mexicano realmente, yo hablo chileno, weón. Y eso se nota cuando digo palabras mexicanas, porque mi reflejo, lo que me sale sin pensarlo es chileno. Tengo que pensarlo para hablar weas mexicanas o colombianas o lo que sea. But, so I would not immediately say 85 to 90% is bad, actually. Because, like, how much experience is he going to have with any particular variant? And, of course, it depends entirely on what he's listening to. Because, you get an introduction to all sorts of stuff in, the Dreaming Spanish videos that I have seen. But, is he watching stuff that is, like, in his field? I don't know what his field is, but he says he's some sort of a professor, so he has one, clearly. In which case, there's going to be vocabulary that he is just being exposed to for the first time. And all that sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily say that's bad. Like, especially if he's starting from nothing. So, I mean, 85 to 90%, I mean, there's also the issue of, like, auditory processing, quite apart from language acquisition. The fact that a lot of us need subtitles just to watch stuff, because actually sound engineers have decided it sounds more natural to do it in a way that actually makes it harder to hear what the fuck people are saying. And there's all sorts of other stuff, so I wouldn't necessarily say that's bad. They're not without more evidence anyway. But, I mean, what it does point to is this roadmap has a lot of very vague claims and some of them that you could say are, I guess, aspirational. Some of them sound, I mean, I'm hesitant to say bullshit, but nobody considers you a learner anymore. I mean, when I hear that sort of vague language, I'm immediately put in mind of the sort of shit that Scientology will tell people about what happens when you get clear. And I'm reminded of the first, back before Lafayette Hubbard realized, I learned this from Respect the Dead, the podcast where they really, really don't. They're talking about his early attempts to popularize Dianetics and how he did an onstage demo with someone called Sofia Bianca. And one of the claims he'd made about getting clear is that you have perfect recall of everything that you've ever been exposed to. And so he had Sofia Bianca up on stage to show how well she remembered things. And, like, she got the color of the tie he was wearing wrong. Like, the tie that was in front of her. Like, as Kalen Conrad put it in that video, I mean, he's sitting here claiming that Sofia Bianca would have perfect recall, and meanwhile, Sofia Bianca barely had object permanence, and it didn't go well. Like, and when you hear these claims, like, nobody will consider you a learner anymore, that is the vibe I get. But, which is why they should absolutely, like, revise that and be more specific about what they mean. Don't be vague. Don't be vague, and make it clear that these things are approximations, and they're going to vary somewhat, sometimes significantly, from person to person. But yeah. So anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and if you enjoyed the stream, please consider supporting the stream if you can. It is always very much appreciated. And I will give you a little thing, link for where you can do that. Because this is overall, I mean, things are looking up a little bit, but it continues to be difficult. So every little bit is always very helpful. Have a good night, and I will see you next week on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time.